Welcome to the No Stand Zone podcast. I'm your host, Tiae. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Join me every week, and trust me, it doesn't always feel like the most like exhilarating energy to be here. Like today, for example, I've been through trying to cover a couple of chores at home here just before coming in. Everything was kind of late today. But every time I turn this mic on, it feels good to be here. So, and it always feels good knowing that you're on the other end as well. Let me remind you that we're on YouTube. You can follow us there for clips of from past shows as well, to help you catch up if you're not able to listen to the full hour. I post videos every week, a couple of videos every week, to make sure that you're updated. And I go back to listen to some of the episodes as well, make sure that the YouTube page is updated to make sure that you're getting as much content as possible. And let me just brag here for a bit, because I was thinking about it this week, and I have to let you know, for you who you're trying to figure out how to tell people about the show, because I tell you to do that every week, and I want to believe you're kind enough to let your friends and family know about the podcast, and you're talking to them about it. And I understand that it takes a lot of extra dedication to spend some time listening to the podcast every week. I listen to podcasts too as well. I have podcasts that I listen to every week, and I try to stay loyal to them. Not because they owe me anything, but because I want to support the work they do. I think it's important. So if you feel that way about the show as well, I want to say, first of all, thank you very much. And if let me give you some tools to help you convince family, friends, or whoever you're talking to about this podcast. And I can tell you one thing for certain, that in the whole Afrobeats music space, this podcast is the only one that gives you quality content and quality conversations around the Afrobeats music industry. We talk about things on this and topics on this podcast that is not being discussed anywhere else. I can assure you that. For example, where are you having discussions, right, about the Grammys, for example, not being as important to us as it was 2 years ago? I'm sure some people are thinking it, but what podcast is talking about that? What music platform is talking about that, if they even exist anywhere? We're going to talk about that, part of that later on in the show. But I can guarantee you, this is the only music podcast that exists, quality music podcast that exists in the in Nigeria, just around the Nigerian music industry, like confidently. It is not centered around artists. It is not centered around people in the industry. This is me paying attention to what is happening and giving you my takes on them. And most of the conversations that people are having later on, we've already talked about them weeks before. Like this, it's happening. I will talk about one of them later on in the show. We're going to cover what my experience kind of like this past week has been. So this is something you should be confident telling your friends and family. You're not going to get this kind of conversations and discussions anywhere else, right? I mean, how many times have you heard the co-founder of the Turntable Charts actually talk about the project they're working on and just the company itself? How many times do you even hear him talking about it, or him being interviewed, or the kind of conversations that I had with him? I am very sure he's not having those conversations anywhere with anybody else, because they're not seeing those conversations as important enough or vital enough to be having at this time. So you should be proud. If you're a loyal listener, you should be proud of the work we're doing here, and I can guarantee you a lot of work goes on the back end. Me just paying attention to what is happening and just thinking and meditating on some of the events, and just picking out a different angle to some of the things that are happening. And as always, you know how I feel about you guys. Thank you very much. And please, you can always send me a message, send me a DM. And as important as I think this space is, I also feel that your opinion is also important. Let me hear what you have to say. Let me hear what you have to say about some of the things we talk about. If you agree with me, I mean, it's fine. And if you don't, I mean, nobody's going to call your head off, okay? It's fine as well. I mean, two things can be true at the same time. I can think you're very, very wrong. At the same time, I can appreciate you reaching out and giving your own opinion or your own, giving a different angle to a certain event that is happening in the industry. So thank you very much. Once again, follow on YouTube is the No Stand Zone podcast with Tiae on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter as well. It's Tiae Sound. That's Tiae Sound. Also follow the pod as well on Twitter is No Stand Pod at No Stand Pod on Twitter as well. That being said, thank you very much. Let's get that out of the way and move into some of the happenings this week. Now let's start with because I've got a lot happened this week that triggered me to think about some things that I want to share with you. So let's start with new music, as we always do here. Some of the songs that came out this week from, just taking a look at I'm following through. I mean, with the playlist and what people are posting, that just new music that is out right now. I think the biggest one this week for me, because a couple of songs came out that kind of like didn't get my attention. I mean, I listened to them and I'm like, how do I really feel about this? I don't think I want to spend time talking about it. But the most prominent one is new project out this week is Tyla. Tyla came out with her new like the deluxe to her album, self-titled Tyla. And you guys know how I feel. I don't think the podcast has started then. Yeah. I've spoken about what I feel about her music. Unfortunately, the conversations around her as a person, and also around some of the things that criticisms that she has also brought upon herself, has just kind of muddied the waters. When we talk about this, her very first album titled Tyla. Like I've mentioned before, I think this album, the album itself titled Tyla, I think that this album is probably on top there as one of the best projects in this past year, right? And I have to confirm this. I think that she submitted for like best album, maybe Africa best performance or something, but she was moved to another category. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. But I think she undoubtedly has the best pop project out. I mean, I don't think I've heard any album that I could say is better than hers since at least the year that she released her project. I mean, I'm not gonna put it in the same category with Amare, because that is kind of like a different the for the submission for the Grammys and all of that fun stuff had already passed, and she released her the album itself this year, 2024. So I'm just looking at that, and Amare also released the deluxe version to her project. So I mean, let's not pick the deluxe in this conversation, but just generally, just the sound of the project. I mean, comparing it to the folks they're kind of like in the same circle. I'm talking about her comparing the album to Thames, to Iris Star. Hers in quality, just not just in the quality of sound sonically, just in the quality of the music and the voice and the vocals and so many other things in the production. Tyla's album Water is way up there, better than Ashake's album, better than Rema's album. Like, it is the top pop project on the continent. Like, there's no even I don't think there's any need to debate that. But the problem here is, and I mentioned it, everything that happened last year, that was kind of like the first domino just falling and just creating this kind of like there's no way she wins in this conversation, right? I mean, in the market, the biggest market that her music is making all the waves, talking about the US, the latest conversation that we spoke about here a few weeks ago is that she's not Black. Like, what does that have to do with her music, right? And I understand in the context of America and how that culturally, things are murky there. And for an African like myself, it's not something I think about when I'm looking at her music, right? But I mean, things like that and the topic of race and all of that is different in America. So I mean, I'm like, why are we talking about this, right? And then she also brought some criticisms on herself, the way she talks about Afrobeats and her releasing an Afrobeats album and taking an award and talking about how, there's more than just Afrobeats, and people taking that as, well, Afrobeats got you all this fame and then now you're trying to turn your back, right, to the genre. And then the way people as well feel that about her music and her taking all the Afrobeats awards in the past year, like Best Artist and all of that. She has been the one taking Best Song with Water. She's taking all the Afrobeats awards, right? And the fact that she's not Nigerian, she's South African again. I mean, it's just been so muddy, with everything around her, as it has never been just clean. And we're talking about her music, right? But I think at some point, one has to look at just the music and keep all the, just carefully, surgically carve that out and just look at her album. I doubt that she's going to get that same recognition this year in all those international awards that mean a lot to her and her team. Of course, I'm sure they're taking the Grammys really seriously. I mean, they're in a record label, that it's important, that is kind of like important to them. So it's been so muddy. Everything has been so muddy. Everything around her, conversations around her. But for me, honestly, I think she has the best pop project on the continent this year. It is no doubt. I don't even know how we come to another conclusion, right? And I understand why people will feel differently, sort of about her. But I mean, the music speaks for itself. If ever that happens, where we just allow music speak for itself. But I think honestly, her music speaks for itself. Top project with this self-titled album, Water. Now, she came out with the deluxe version of this project this past week, and the very first song took me back to her receiving the awards at the MTV Awards, when she was talking about this not Afrobeats thing and there's other genre and all of that. The very first song on this deluxe is a piano record, and I was like, why? You could have put any. It's like you're giving people the reasons to speak. And there's this proverb in Yoruba that says the person that wants to get burnt is pouring gasoline on themselves. Kind of like making it easier to get burnt in the first place. You're gonna get burnt, and you're just out there soaking yourself in gasoline, making it a lot easier, right? For those with the spark and the matches to just burn you either way. And the very first song on this deluxe is an amapiano record. And I'm like, why, dude? Like, I understand that most of the conversations around Tyla has been beyond her own, beyond what she can do, right? Beyond her control. But this was an easy one. How Nigerians are looking at you. You know how the conversation around you already exists. Why do this to yourself? Your self-titled album, Tyla, is an Afrobeats album. Like, it is right there. Just keep going with that. Why give them a reason to speak about it again? The very first song is an amapiano record, and I have to tell you, I actually do like it's a decent record. I really like it. That's the thing. I mean, if we look at it just the music, I love what she's doing, right? So I think she added three songs. The first one, Shake Ah, right, featuring a bunch of artists. I'm looking at it; they're most likely from South Africa. And then second one, Push to Start, and then Back to You. I think Back to You is the one I like the not the least. Push to Start is the one I like the least, but the three songs are really good. Now this album is a really good project, like a really good project. Every song is to die for. Sonically just makes a lot of sense, right? From Breathe Me and what she's talking about, that like breathe, you don't have to you can breathe me, right? And then she's talking about Truth or Dare, and there's the song Safer with Me, You're Safer. And then there's Jump, which with Gunna and Skillibang, incredible record. And then there's Art, and then there's Priorities. And I was listening to this, to this project, earlier today, and it just hit me what this Priorities is actually about. The whole album covers a whole wide range of topics, right? And this Priorities sounds like a feel good record, but if you listen to what she's actually talking about, she's talking about you as an individual not getting your priorities right, where you're not able to say no to people. You keep taking on other people's like problems and baggage that you're not paying attention to yourself, to your own feelings, and that's basically what she's talking about in this record. And because it's been a while that I listened to the album, the first one, the original itself, I was listening to these Priorities and I was like, oh, she's speaking some facts here. And all this is an incredible project. It is an incredible project. I think it's the top pop project on the continent this year, hands down. But the thing is, like I said earlier, it's really difficult to have that conversation with people, especially when you're having that conversation with people on the internet. Right, especially when you're having that conversation with people on the internet, like every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there who is just listening to respond rather than just listen to what you have to say and then try and create their thoughts and opinion out of that, and probably come up with something a lot more productive, right? So, but you're never going to get that with conversations you're having with people on the internet. But generally, how I feel about this deluxe project, I'm not head over heels about it, but I really do like this Shake Ah song out there. She only added 3 songs. I was surprised because the thing is, with the 3 songs, it gets to 17 songs. I think maybe that's what they were thinking about, because the album itself already had like 14 tracks, and trying to get it to like 20 will be too much. But I mean, it's a deluxe project. If you're coming up with a deluxe project, add a little bit more, maybe 1 more or 2 more, like 5 more songs. People who love this album would listen to all 5 and still listen to the full album, which I did. I could have just listened to the first 3 and be done, but I listened to the whole freaking album and let they play the first song again, back to the first song. It's an incredible project, but that's going to be a difficult conversation to have with most people, and it's understandable that people's feelings are hurt right now, and she hasn't made it easier. Also, she hasn't made it easier as well. But that's how I feel about this beautiful project, Tyler. I wish you all the very best, and hopefully you also and your team, you guys figure out how to sort out this PR nightmare you're having home and abroad. That's the problem. They're having PR problems in Africa, and also in the US, which is like the biggest market they're trying to reach as well. I don't know how you mess up on both ends, right? I mean, I'm thinking that you want to play it where the folks at home are defending you while you're out there in the international market, is what I'm thinking. I mean, not everybody's going to accept you there. The labels will do their thing, but I want to at least figure that if you're to pick a side, or if you were to pick a side that you're cool with, and the side that will ride with you all the way, it will be the side that is not constantly maybe at first glance not concerned with your race, whether you're black or you're not black and all of that. We just know you're African, right? I mean, I want to think you want to lean towards the Africans, but at this point, it's like she has put herself in a difficult position right now. But this album, this deluxe, is great. I like the album already. Adding the extra songs, it just feels good. Songs fit into it perfectly. So let's dive next into the next stuff I want to talk about. Now, last week I talked about the Minz album, and you guys know how I feel about that project. Like I said, it's his first one. The bar is low, and I'm more listening to that album. I feel like there's more to offer, right? And I'm more concerned about what his second project is going to be like. Right now, I just know he's an artist. That's basically all I know. This album does nothing to tell me who he is as an artist and who he is at his core. I just know this album sounds really good, right? If you take out that incredible production out of this project, it sounds like any project by so many artists in the past. The lamba is the same and everything. You sing slow to make it look like you're going through mental health. Like, you can't deceive me with all of that. I like, it's easy to see through that. A couple of artists have released projects similar to that this year, and people were shouting about the projects. Where are those conversations about those people today? And that's, so you guys know already. If you missed that, I've already posted part of that on the YouTube channel. You can go check it out. The full conversation I had, my full take and opinion about the album. So this week I joined the Afrocritik space, and you know how I feel about them. Shout out to them. I join them every now and then to be involved in the conversations they're having. I think they have an incredible platform there that one can be part of, and they've actually accepted me into the family. And so every time I'm able to make it, I don't hesitate to show up there. And I was mentioned the things I've spoken about on the pod. I was expressing them on the Twitter space, on the Afrocritik Twitter space that happens every Thursday. If you want to listen to it, want to hear some of my takes as well, or if you don't, I think it's a great platform. You guys can listen to them every Thursday. I think it's 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. Just follow them on Twitter, Afrocritik on Twitter, and you can know when they what time on Thursdays. They actually start local time wherever you are. And I was telling them my take on this album, and I mentioned it there that my bar is low, and I really want to commend my excitement, or what makes this album very distinct for me is more on what the production was, right? And I remember saying it on that space, and most people were kind of like arguing with me on the sonics, of how important the sonics was to the success of that album. And then it happens that another Twitter page that is probably a lot more bigger than mine, called Album Talks, they actually mentioned the same thing as the headline, saying that the album is a strong painting of his sonic. That's basically what that is. It's just more, for me, what I heard was just sonically, I know, okay, for now, this is who you are. But then at your core, who are you? And I mentioned, I was explaining, I was giving a painting a scenario. And I shared that a few years ago, a long time ago, I as a young dude, soccer was a thing for me. Like, I was joining several training facilities to see how football can be the next thing for me, probably play in Europe. And I mean, there was a short period of time that was the goal. And I remember every time I show up to different training grounds, the advice everyone gave to me before I stepped in was, you need to show them, the coach who's watching you needs to know who you are at your core. As a new player, that is who they. Now later on, we can see whether you're fast, you're other things that you can do, but we need to know who you are at your core. And I give the example of being a new player as a midfielder. What the coach wants to see is basically maximum 3 things. 1, he wants to see that you don't give the ball away, no turnovers. 2, he wants to see decent touches on the ball, maximum of 3 touches on the ball. And 3, he wants to see that you understand the game. You can cover that maximum. That is what they're looking for, looking for in a player. Now, as you grow, as you get better, you might eventually not be just a sitting midfielder anymore, because now we're able to figure out that probably you're faster on the ball, you're stronger on the ball, and maybe you should play from the wings this time. That is probably where you're. But at your core, who are you? That is a very important thing as a new player. And I said, it's the same thing as a new artist. Who are you at your core? If we don't know that, you're going to just go with the wind. If by the next time you're going to release your album, this R&B sound you're working with is not the new thing, you're just going to feel like you should just flow with that. Because at your core, you don't even know who you are. And no shade to any artist, and you know how I feel about these people. For example, Cade is one perfect example about that. The song that got him kind of really famous a few years ago, like went viral. Let me see if I can bring out that song. I can't see the song here. Ski, I think that's the song. No, with you. That's the name of the song. His name is Cade, right? And he released this song 2 years ago, January 28, 2 years ago. The song titled "With You." This song, beautiful. Is one of the most beautiful songs by a new artist in this industry that I've ever heard. One of the most beautiful songs. It's incredible. I'm listening to it now. Unfortunately, I cannot play it for you guys because of copyright and all of that. And I heard this song and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm excited about what his future is going to be like. What is he going to come up with next? And because at his core, he doesn't know who he is, the next song he released in April of 2022 was a rap song, kind of like a rap-centric song. And the thing is, if as a new artist, your goal is to put your feet in the ground in like who are you? And this is where my conversation about genres come in. Now, that word is like a turn-off in today's industry. And I understand that. Nobody wants to be boxed. It's fine. But in the context of a new artist, who are you at your core? Genres are not that bad. It helps even you as an artist, right? For example, the most popular rapper in the world right now, probably the biggest, is Drake. Drake has released what was that? Is it not the house album? Is it house like a dance album? He has sung on sort of like R&B. He has given like R&B vibes on some songs. But we know that at his core, he's a rapper. Everybody knows that. Whatever Drake decides to do with his life, whatever, we know that he is a rapper. Chris Brown, the same thing. He has rapped. He has given us pop. He has given us R&B. At his core, we know that Chris Brown is an R&B singer, is an R&B artist. Now, he's done other things, but you need to put your foot in the ground. We need to know who you are. And even you need to know who you are, so that irrespective of where the wind blows tomorrow, even if it's not blowing towards who you are at your core, you don't deviate all the way. And that is where you lose your fans, because your feet is not deep in the ground. Beyonce has been here for so many years, decades now, that she can go ahead and release a country album And you're not losing anybody because we know who she is at her core. Right? And I was mentioning it there that for me, this album with Minz tells me, it says nothing for me about him. There was nothing concrete on this album that I can hold on to and say, oh, I'm a Minz fan, of which I don't even, what does that even mean to be a Minz fan? Because it's not, it cannot be because of his lyrics or because of his cadence or because of the lamba. It cannot be any of that, because all of that was not strong enough on this project. And like I said, because sonically is where the life and the soul of this album was, sonically. And I mentioned on that space that I would be more excited I would actually be excited as to what his second album is going to be. Not because, because I feel like that is where I'm going to get to know who he is. Because I think he definitely has a lot more to offer. That's the thing. People see this as me saying this as a criticism of him. It's not necessarily a criticism of him. It's just what I see. It's the fact of what is on ground. He doesn't even see himself as an R&B artist. So if I call him a pop artist now, he's going to say, no, probably he's not. He's going to call himself, I was told he called himself Afrofusion. Listen to that. In 2024, how are we having a conversation and an artist is telling me he's doing Afrofusion? Afrofusion is Afrobeats. And I mentioned to Sam, shout out to him, is the founder of Afrocritik. I told him, I said, how did you let that fly? Like, nobody should be able to mention that Afrofusion today without getting some sort of pushback and say, bro, Afrofusion is Afrobeats. That's basically what it is. Afrobeats is a fusion of different sounds mixed with our African drums and all of the elements of African music. And that's what Afrobeats is. Ruga, who has more, what's it called? It's not reggae, but that style of music that he does, it's not native to African, right? The Tiwa Savage does more of like leaning towards R&B. R&B is not necessarily African sound, right? Nonso Amadi does the same. It's not necessarily an African sound. So what are we talking about? MI mixes rap with the African elements. Like, that's basically the whole thing we're doing in the whole Nigerian music industry. It's Afrofusion. But you need to know who you are at your core. MI is a rapper at his core. Right? P Square, they are pop artists at their core. It's who they are. But they've given us incredible R&B songs in the past, like Onyinye. Right? So I'm like, how is it that nobody is seeing that as something important? Like, I know genre is not the thing today, but you need to know who you are. And this album tells me absolutely nothing about his identity, like who he really is as an artist. And the thing is, the genre, you might not even tell people as though that's who you are per se, but it helps you even stay grounded. You can then mix the rap with something else, mix the pop with something else, mix the R&B with something, but you know who you are. Sometimes that a first album doesn't necessarily tell us who you are. For example, this is Tyler's first album, and it is such a lot, like the album is so concrete, so direct to let you know she is a pop artist. Like it is so in your face. You cannot listen to it. It is just beyond the production. It is the way her voice sounds. It is the way she sings. It is evident in that. The same with King Madi. She's an R&B singer. Like it is there. I don't need to know. She gave me a whole album of this is who I am. And she didn't go around trying to tell me I can rap, I can give you reggae, it is there that she is an R&B singer. Right? I mean, Nonso Amadi is the same thing. He has given us pop songs in the past, but we know at his core, he's an R&B singer. And he mixes that into whatever he does. Like I think if you don't know who you are gonna get lost. And I think Cade is an example of that. He has given us different range, like a range of different songs. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. Who are you exactly? What kind of music? Who are you exactly? I don't know. He has done songs that have got that Igbo vibe to it. He has given rap. He has given, I don't need to know you can do everything. As a new artist, you need to sink your feet in the ground that's how you gain fans. Fans need to know what they're going to get when you show up. Or when you announce that new music is coming. Fans need to know what to expect. They need to, at least sonically, you need to have an, genre-wise is what I'm saying. You need to have an identity. For example, if you tell me King Madisha says he's coming out with a new album, I know what to expect. At least sonically, I know what I'm going to get. It's not like I know exactly, but I know what I'm going to get. If Ruga comes saying a new project today, bro, I know what it is. I cannot wait. There's an anticipation in a certain direction. If Nonso Amadi says the same thing, if MI says the same thing, if Olamide says the same thing, if Wizkid says the same thing, we're going to talk about him in a little bit. If, to Wizkid of today, we know what we're going to get from him, right? If Davido says the same thing, you kind of have an idea. These artists, they don't just get to where they are without having some sort of identity, and that's how they get their fans. Because their fans listen or go to them for a certain sound or vibe. And when I was saying this about Minz, there was some sort of pushback. They don't want to get boxed in one place. Bro, anybody getting boxed, the music will speak for itself. If the music hits, it hits. The music will speak for itself. Nobody's boxing you in anything. If the music, it is when award shows come that people are concerned about, where did they put me and all of that. But in the end, it's not the award shows that get you fans. Fans are not because that person won best artist or best R&B song, all of a sudden I'm going to buy their ticket or buy the ticket to their show. That is not happening anywhere. People are not showing up for artists because they won certain awards. Artists, you build loyalty. Artists are I like this person's sound, I like this person's music. That's why they follow any artist and invest in artists. It has nothing to do with whether they won an award or whatever. If they win the award, it's fine. I mean, folks have been nominated for the Grammys. Ruga hasn't been. He's an independent artist today, but he's killing shows in Europe, left, right, center, up and down. His shows are their treat to the people who show up there. Odumodu Black, the same thing. Benson, the same thing. At some point, you need to let us know who you are, and I don't get any of that identity on this project. I mean, for any new artist out there, you're listening, or folks who know any new artists, you need to let us know who you are from right away. Cold AF, I already know what this lady is all about. She's giving me that Caribbean vibes, like what Shenseea gives me. She's very dominant on the record. You can hear the command of attention. She commands the record. I know if I hear today that Cold AF is going to come out with a new project, I know what I'm going to get. Because that lady doesn't sound like she's not sure or no. This one sounds like she's sure. She didn't have as many songs on her project, but she's been able to let me know who she is in a shorter time than how many more songs you had in Minz had in his project. I'm more confident in what to hear from Morave than I know what to hear from Minz on another album. Because I just know that he is not sitting on this kind of vibe on the next project. He has to find a way to put a hit somewhere, because those people need to get their money. Like, they need to get their money. Whoever's backing him need to get their money. Nobody's just sitting he's not on my lay. You're not gonna be on my lay that gives that kind of vibe, and then you have several hits in that album. So I mean, people. I just would say what I have to. Folks can take the advice or not, but these things are important. They're important. You need to let us know who you are. Who are you? Your identity. Where do you stand on the thing? That's how we can know to follow you. And I still feel like, this doesn't tell me. I'm not like, oh, Minz the artist. Oh no, I'm more like, well, let me hear what his second project has got to offer. Then we can be talking. I can say, oh, okay, this is who Minz the artist is. Right now, I'm more like, oh, great production, great sonic. This was a great listen. So a great listen. That's all I've got. It was just incredible having that conversation with other people, and it was just so hard for them to see that. And they were like, "Oh," because I was saying the heart and soul of this project is the work done by the engineer. Because I think most people don't know what their ears cannot catch sometimes why they like a record. And I mean, people will say different things, or the record is this, but I needed to get in there because I didn't have to, but I felt it needed to be said that whoever engineered that project deserves the greater bulk of whatever success this album is having today. And all the, this is a great album. It's so sonically marvelous, because I also enjoyed it, because I listened to that album. Even on the second listen, it was more of what is happening on the keyboard. The melodies, the notes are just incredible. And when his voice or whatever came in, it didn't even trigger me to be like, oh, what is that? Like him catching my attention. He didn't. It was more of the music. The music was it for me. And I know that is not him. I know that's not him. Right? So, I mean, that's just honestly what I got there. As a new artist, I'm waiting for something else. This genre thing people are running away from, it's not a bad thing. Embrace it. But once you find your sound, once you find your footing, once you find where you're comfortable, as it's not an easy thing to do, but once you find that place, it becomes easier from there. You don't just go with the wind. And that's how you get loyal fans, because irrespective of where the wind blows, they know what to get from you. They know that your music becomes like a shelter. Now, I mean, at fans, we can go with the wind today, go with whatever the latest kind of thing is, whether it's fast or slow or whatever. But we know that with you, it's consistent. Whether you're always kind of in the middle or whether you're fast, so whatever it is, wherever you are, we know what to get from you. As big as Amapiano was a few years ago, right? Or last year, guess what? Ruga said, I'm coming out with a project. We knew what we were getting from Ruga. We know he's not following the Amapiano wave. That is the kind of identity I'm talking about. Right? That's the kind of identity I'm talking about. He's a perfect example of that. Right? Like, I don't know how it is. That is a difficult concept to grasp for people to understand, that it is important. I mean, as you run away from, it is important for you to have your feet rooted somewhere. And then your branches can then go as far and wide as you want. But your feet has to be solid somewhere. If not, you don't bear enough fruit for folks to come to the tree and pluck. You don't bear enough fruit because your roots doesn't even stay in one place. After a minute, it's moved. After a minute, it's moved. So it's not even, it doesn't get enough time to blossom and just grow enough branches. Because like, oh, you're everywhere. But once your fruit, your root is seated down, your branches can go as far and wide. Your roots also can get deeper, and then you can do whatever you can branch far and wide, but you still get folks coming to you because they know what they get. They know, oh, this is what I get from him. This is why I'm coming to this fruit. You can't be a tree that will just bear the same tree, mango, orange, banana. Bro, music doesn't work that way. This art thing doesn't work that way. With every artist, we know why we are with them. We know why we're coming to that artist. We know he's coming to release a project. You know why you're listening to a certain artist. They might be in the same genre or whatever, but you know what you're going to get from Chris Brown. You know what you're going to get from SZA. You know what you're going to get from Coco Jones and Tori Kelly. Oh my gosh. I was just listening to that project, by the way. It's incredible. But as similar as the music is like an R&B world, sort of, in that atmosphere, you know what you're going to get from each artist. You know. And that's what I'm talking about. So, man, artists just need to figure that out. It's important. Most people don't see it as they want to show I'm diversified. Bro, sit your ass somewhere, find your sound. All right. So, and then another thing this week, oh my goodness. So this one is kind of like different things kind of intertwined in this one. We spoke last week, right? If you guys remember, about Wizkid and him posting and all the ridiculous things he was saying about Davido and all that rant, and the idea or the rumor, the thing was that, oh, he's coming up with new music, right? And folks are like, you can't keep doing this. And I told you what I feel like. I think it's something deeper than that. Just, oh, I'm releasing music. I think there's a lot of insecurity happening with him. I think this is his last project. Honestly, those are my thoughts around it. I don't think he's releasing another project after this one, because he's done this in the past, right? Where he, just crashes out. But this was different. This was different. And one could tell from how it was just, even the conversations he was having with folks, the random people on the internet. For me, I just felt like this was different. Now, he released a snippet of a song that, I think several songs, but I think I heard just one of them. The song that that's come out in his next album. And wow, the internet went crazy talking about, oh, so all that noise was for this. They were calling the song, the snippets, mid. And it just got me thinking. I mean, I've spoken about everything Wizkid did. I've spoken about that already. For me, I'm at a place where I want to hear his music now. I've spoken about it. And I heard the music, and my thought was it. And I put out a tweet. And this is what I said. I think this is very, very, important for this conversation. The song I heard the snippet for was the song titled Bend, right? And my tweet was this. I said, the crazy thing is, if I take Wizkid's name off this song and I slow it down, add some pads, and drop 10 tracks, the same internet will tell me it's the best R&B song or album this year and use the artist's face for Afro R&B playlist. As people were clowning the snippet of this song, if you take Wizkid out of it and put any artist that the internet is in love with today, this song will be like, oh, it's a hit, or this song knock, or this song. That is what's going to happen. Like, I mean, folks were shouting about Rema's album, but they're calling this song mid. And my thought on this is that most people don't care. All this conversation around, oh, this person's song is mid and all of this, most people don't care. it is just about social media engagement. Because when it's time to talk about more poignant issues, people are not engaged. People are not engaged. But anything that has to do with Wizkid, Davido, Burna, any of these guys, people are, it's like there's so much energy put into it. Any conversation outside of this artist, people don't care. Every time you talk about Wizkid, it is like it is social media engagement. And people take their time to like get involved in those conversations because they know that the stance on the internet would give them engagement. Now, it's engagement both from the people who are bringing up these topics and the stands who are also getting involved. They also want to get social media engagement. That's what everybody is doing here. Because I was finding it hard that would be the thought today. That you listen to this song and all you can think of is mid. I'm like, this song is virtually every pop song out there today. You people were shouting Minz, and some other artists that have released songs this year. And you were shouting, people were talking about Ira Star releasing one of the best albums this year. And I'm like, but you think, if Ira Star is one of the best albums this year, but you think this Wizkid Snippet is mid. What are you people talking about? You think Lungu Boy is one of the best projects this year. Ademola, one of the best projects this year. But you think Wizkid's snippet of this song is mid. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? And the thing is, most of the people mentioning all these things are stans, internet people. And let me give a shout out to Sam, who put out a tweet that I responded to, and his explanation of that tweet, or why he put out the tweet, was not what I was thinking about. But I think my response to the tweet is also valid on like as to what I was thinking he was talking about. He put out a tweet saying, "An independent magazine or media will build its brand and reputation and identity through blood and sweat and tears, and music stars will want to denigrate it because of their faves. Disgusting." Now, he said he put out this tweet because of some of the conversations around turntable charts, and people were saying turntable charts is just it's like it's not they just rubbish them, calling them that they're Wizkid haters, right? And you guys know how I feel about the turntable charts, and I think what I think about their potential, right? So he was saying that was the reason why he put out the tweet. But my response to that tweet was, at the time, I was thinking he was complaining about like his own platform, the Afrocritik space. But I think this tweet kind of touches that space as well. My reply to that was, I told him, I hear you, bro. Crazy thing. But it's because we have given them so much agency, talking about the stands. Said every week we are asking them what they think about every music and validating them by giving them a voice. There isn't a single platform where only music people discuss music. I think that is so important and needed in the Nigerian music industry, where music people just talk about music. This, I mean, shout out to what so many people are doing out there. I mean, Emmanuel, all those people, even the Afrocritik space and some other spaces where they allow people get involved. And honestly, it's like every Tom, Dick, and Harry to get involved in the music conversation. It's fine. But we've gone into a place where like these people's thoughts kind of seem to be what is the prevalent, like the solid thought about people's work today. Because I'm thinking that there is no way the conversation around this snippet, this Wizkid snippet of this song titled Bend, is that this song is mid. Because this song, it is virtually every pop song that has been released this year. Take out his name, and these people wouldn't call this song mid. But because it's Wizkid and what he did last week. And the thing is, if you get music people talking about music, you would take out all the noise around some of the artists and just look at the music. I mean, we can talk about all the shenanigans and everything the artists do, blah, blah, blah. Like all these artists mess up one way or another, right? But if you get music people talking about music, it is easy to take out all the noise and then find the wheat in all this chaff. It cannot be that as this song is released, nobody has given a critical take on this song. Like just straightforward, this song, this is what is happening here. This is, everyone is talking about everything outside of that song. And this is what happens when you don't get music people talking about music. Everyone is putting their emotions into it. This song, for me, it is every pop song out there. It is every highly rated pop song by people this year. That is what this song is. So if that is the standard, this song cannot be made. And I've actually heard one of them. I think one of them is titled Joe, that I think is actually, it's a banger. But it's like, all we are talking about, is made. It's like there is nothing he was going to do. And I understand that he put this on himself, fine. But there was nothing he was going to put out this week that was going to make people say the song is decent or the song is good. And in my own book, the song is good. Because if this Wizkid song is mid, 80% of the songs released this year could be thrown into the trash. Throw Lungu Boy in the trash. Throw Adedamola in the trash. Throw Victoni and Aristar in the trash. We need to take emotions out of this because this song is decent. This song is good. This is what you expect from a pop song today. He at least has an identity. We know what to expect from him. And he's not just following, where's the wind blowing today? Let me follow that. It's ridiculous where we are, man. For me, it is absolutely ridiculous where we are. People are not able to look at the music. If we look at the music for what it is, we're talking about a top tier pop song. And it's not even fully like released. This is just from like club, whatever. Like this is not the song itself. Like we're listening to it on the DSP. And the song, from what I can hear, everything I'm paying attention to on the background, those drums are going to kick in. Once it's released, they're going to sound a lot more different. I was hearing some of what, I can't remember which song it is. I'm like, this kick is going to sound a lot different when it comes out on the DSPs. And it's going to sound really good. But we're not having that conversation in the middle of all of this. Everyone just saying it's mid. And we're talking about Wizkid. And then the next thing they're talking about Rema. And I'm like, oh my goodness. If only we can get music people talking about, we can get music people actually talking about music today. How great, how awesome would that be, right? How awesome. But that's why the No Stand Zone podcast exists. Pew, 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 where we can talk about the music and, look through all the noise, look through all the smoke, dig through everything and give you the gold, give you the diamond, the crux, the cocoa, what we should be talking about, the meat, the bone. That's why this podcast exists. And for me, the Wizkid snippets I'm hearing, this is top tier pop song, top tier. Because if this is meat, we can shut down the whole pop music industry in Nigeria. At least all the music released this year should be thrown in the trash. All the pop music released this year should be thrown in the trash. But that's how I feel. Let me know what you think about any of the music topics that we've dissected today. It's so much, so good, so good. Sometimes I feel so tired, and then I turn on this mic and I'm digging into the topics, and I feel so energized again. That's how I feel right now. So we haven't done Beyond the Zone in a minute. And this is where we look at happenings outside of the Nigerian music industry, taking a look at events that happen outside of the Nigerian music industry. And this one I want to talk about real quick. A video came out this week of a legendary actor. I'm talking about Manuel Udokwu. I mean, bro, if you are not Nigerian and you don't know who I'm talking about, he is like Leonardo DiCaprio level sort of in Nigeria, in Africa. Talking about African actors, right? I mean, I can't even count how many movies he's been part of. I've been watching his movies since I was a kid, from soap operas to big time movies that have kind of solidified in our minds even as an adult. I look at him and I'm like, he's a national treasure. Bob Manuel Udokwu is a national treasure. And I saw a video of him this week where he was talking about he was giving his take on the fact that Hollywood is trying to make a movie right now, and they cast they're making, I think, Things Fall Apart is what they're trying to do now. Yeah, Things Fall Apart. And it's been done by a Hollywood, like an American production company, and they cast Idris Elba for Concord. Before I go to what he thinks, this is ridiculous. This is madness. This is madness. This is 2024. If you're going to take such a stable this is such a staple Nigerian movie, the least you can do, and Okonkwo is the lead actor, right? And I look at this as extortion, is what I think this is. I don't care who the producer is going to be, some Nigerian or some Nigerian American, who they're going to put it here. But if you're going to tell such a staple Nigerian story, like Things Fall Apart, there are very few stories that get as original as that. And the lead actor is not Nigerian. You've missed the ball. Now, Egbo Bob Manuel was kind enough to say, well, he doesn't really care a lot, but he was talking about that there are other actors. Bro, well, I can't even remember. I can't remember this elder's name right now. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. There are tons of actors. Like, even Bob Manuel will kill that. Like, he's Igbo as well, because that's what the whole movie centered around, like the story from the southern part of Nigeria. So you're gonna, oh my gosh, just thinking about this more and more, they're just gonna do a disservice to this story, because how do you get Idris Elba? Idris Elba cannot even say proper Yoruba. He did a video snippet for Ashake, and it sounded so ridiculous. And I'm like, Ashake could not find a Nigerian actor to do that. An elder statesman in Nigeria to do that. You have to call Idris Elba to sound like a mediocre, silly F-list actor. Now, he's a great actor. He's done great movie. But if you're gonna put yourself in a position where you're not great at, then you're going to look mediocre and amateur. And that's what it looked like in that whatever play thing he did for Ashake. And that's exactly what he's going to make himself look like a fool in this Okonkwo, because he's going to be required to speak Igbo, and then they're going to murder the language. This story is such a stable story that how is it that Idris Elba is who is picked for the lead role? You could pick anybody else, but because they want to be able to sell the story, of course, outside of the continent, they want to be able to put a front actor. That tells me it's extortion. You don't really care about the story. You just care about how much you're going to make from this movie. That is the move to pick him tells me already. And I don't even care who the director is at this point, because it is the people bringing the money here who are having the say. Because if you are a Nigerian, like you grew up in a country, you understand the country. There is no way you understand how important this, how much of a staple this story is. And you don't give it to someone who is local that can give you those, who we take this ball out of the park with the intonations and understanding even the culture, someone who probably lived part of that story in their real lives or have people connected to them who live those stories. This is crazy, man. But he went ahead to talk about, I know there needs to be collaboration between Hollywood and, and other movie industries around the world, which is of course brilliant. I mean, that is already happening with our music, Afrobeats. I mean, connecting with people from other parts of the world. It needs to happen with Hollywood as well. I think we've got great stories to tell. We've come a really, really long way. If Nigeria is better, a lot of people will spend more money to invest in these movies. And folks have made a lot of money as well, like movies that are grossing hundreds of millions of naira. I mean, that's because, good stories to tell, and great acting and great production and all of that as well, right? So, like you said, Mr. Bob Manuel said, definitely those collaborations are important, and I support him. But I know he had to be chill because he doesn't want to obviously mess up the bag. But I will go a long way, and it's not even Idris Elba's fault. It's just whoever it is that is producing this story. This is more about extortion of our story and our experience as Nigerians for somebody else to make money. That's what I think it is, because you're not putting yourself in the best place to win. If Idris Elba is who you're thinking about, how do you read this story and it is Idris Elba you settle with? Unless you're going to dilute the story or dilute the role. I mean, let me not just go on and on, because the more I think of it, I'm getting more pissed about this. But thank you very much for joining me on the show for today. It is always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for staying with me 1 hour of this. As always, please let me know what you think about the show. Anything we've talked about that you want to let me know what you think as well. Please send me a DM on Twitter, either on Tiae Sound, that's Tiae Sound, or at NoStandPod, or you can send me an email, nostandpod@gmail.com, nostandpod@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Please don't drink and drive, don't text and drive. And as always, I remain my humble self, Tiae. Stay blessed.